In today's lesson, we're going to be using vertex form of parabolas in order to identify the vertex of the parabola. Now we're going to use completing the square, which we did last class, in order to help us rewrite an equation from standard form into vertex form. So to review, standard form is in the form ax squared plus bx plus c, where c tells us the y-intercept. Now in vertex form, it's always going to be written in the form a times x minus h squared plus k, where the h and the k are going to tell us the vertex. And it's always going to be the ordered pair hk. Let's look at a graph of the parabola given the equation 2 times the quantity x minus 4 squared plus 3. What do you notice about this? Which direction is the parabola opening? What is its vertex? So we can see that this parabola is opening upwards. And the vertex is the point 4, negative 3. So that's the 4, 3. So that's the point where it changes directions from going down to up or vice versa. So the vertex is the point 4, 3. And that tells us that the axis of symmetry is that vertical line where x is equal to 4. So that's going to cut the parabola in half, and we can often use that in order to plot extra points to be able to identify some more points. So you can see that I've selected here 5, 5, and if I go to the other side, that's going to be 3, 5. All right, and then I also get 2, 11. And if I go to over here, I get to 6, 11. And those can just kind of help me if I think about the symmetry to sketch that curve, especially something like this that doesn't have any x-intercepts. All right, so let's start by identifying which direction this parabola is going to open and its y-intercept. So we know that if we have the equation x squared plus 6x plus 4, we start with its leading coefficient. So the leading coefficient, x squared here, is telling us that it opens upwards since it's positive. The y-intercept is based on the constant value, that's positive 4. So that tells us that our y-intercept is 0, 4. Now we want to find our vertex. So in order to find the vertex, we're going to complete the square. So y is equal to x squared plus 6x plus something, and then plus 4, and we're going to subtract that same something. So when we complete the square, we always start with the b value. So we're starting with 6. So if we start with that, so our factored form is going to be x, since it's positive, plus something squared, and then we're going to simplify what's outside. So we start with 6 and we take half of that. So 6 divided by 2 is 3, and then we square that to get 9. So that means I have to add 9 in order to complete the square. So this group is going to factor to x plus 3 squared. But then with that outside part, I've got 4 minus 9. So 4 minus 9 is negative 5. So that tells us that our vertex is the opposite of what's inside the parentheses. So if inside the parentheses we have plus 3. That means we want our x-coordinate to be -3. And then whatever's on the outside of the parentheses, we want to keep the same. So we're going to keep that -5 the same as it was. So that's going to be -5. So our vertex is 0 or -3, -5. So let's go ahead and plot that. So -3, -5 is going to be down here. Our y-intercept is 4, 0, 0, 4, and that's 3 units from our axis of symmetry. So I can kind of sketch that down here, so I know that my other point is going to be 3 units on the other side. So I can use that to sketch a nice smooth curve for our parabola. All right, so our last example, we have y equals -2x² minus 12x minus 16. Now, if we look at this, we can see that we are starting with -2x². So that tells us our parabola is going to be opening down. And our constant value is -16. So that tells us that our y-intercept is going to be 0, -16. So when we go to complete the square, we have to do like we did before. We have to factor out what we don't need, but we only have to factor from this portion here, the 2x terms. So I'm going to factor a -2 from that. So -2 times x², and if I factor a -2 from the 12, -12, that's going to become +6. And then I'm going to x, and I'm going to add something to complete the square. The -16 we're going to leave alone. We're going to keep it on the outside of that parenthesis. Now, in completing the square, we're going to keep this the same. Y equals -2 times. Now, we start with our constant, our linear term. So in this case, 6. 6 divided by 2 is going to be 3. So our factor form is going to be x plus 3 squared. And then when I square 3, we get 9. So we're going to add 9 to complete the square. But on the outside, we've got to subtract 9 times -2. Because I factored out that -2, so when I balance the equation, I've got to keep that in mind. So if we have -9 minus 9 times -2, this part here, if I simplify that, is going to become positive 18. So -16 plus 18 is going to become 2. So now we can identify our vertex as being -3, positive 2. So we can plot that point, -3, positive 2. And we know our y-intercept is going to be way down here. So our curve is going to look something like this.